The settlement smelled of failure and shame. Kalen walked through the narrow paths between the dome shelters, watching the Thresic refugees move with heads low and tails dragging in the dust. These were predators once, apex hunters from a world where strength meant everything. Now they lived on charity rations from the Galactic Council, their pride as broken as their spirits. The human security advisor had seen refugee camps across a dozen worlds, but this one hurt differently. These weren't victims of war or natural disaster. These were the survivors of genetic collapse, their hunting instincts stripped away by a plague that rewrote their DNA. The virus had swept through their homeworld 15 years ago, leaving behind a generation born without the drive to hunt, without the fire that made them Thresic. The elders called them the broken generation. The younglings who could not feel the thrill of the chase, who looked at prey and felt nothing, who would rather starve than kill. In a culture built entirely on hunting prowess, they were worse than dead. They were irrelevant. Kalen found the young one sitting alone behind the medical center, exactly where the camp director said he would be. The cub was small for his age, maybe 10 standard years old, with golden fur marked by dark stripes. His claws were sharp but unused. His eyes held the defeated look Kalen had seen too many times. "You're Vash?" Kalen asked, sitting down on the ground beside him without waiting for permission. The cub didn't look up. "Yes. Are you here to tell me about more aid programs? More charity? More pity?" "No." Kalen pulled out a canteen and took a drink. "I'm here because I heard you tell your teacher that your generation is worthless." Vash's ears flattened. We can't hunt. That's all that matters to the Thresic. That's all we are. That's all you were," Kalen said. "Big difference." Now the cub looked at him. "You're human. You don't understand. Your species isn't built on one thing. You're generalists. You do everything badly, but nothing terribly. We're specialists. We hunt or we're nothing." Kalen smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. "Kid, let me tell you about humans. We started as prey animals. We were food for everything with big teeth. We couldn't outrun the hunters, couldn't outfight them, couldn't outclimb or outswim them. By your logic, we should have gone extinct before we figured out fire. But you adapted," Vash said. "You learned to hunt." "Wrong." Kalen leaned back against the wall. "We learned to think. That's different. We learned to cooperate, to plan, to build tools, to change ourselves and our environment. We learned that survival isn't about what you are. It's about what you choose to become." Vash's tail twitched, the first sign of interest. "What does that have to do with us?" "Everything." Kalen stood up and offered his hand. "Come with me. I want to show you something." The cub hesitated, then took the human's hand. His claws retracted instinctively, the gentle touch of someone who had learned never to harm. They walked through the camp to a large open area where Kalen had set up equipment earlier that morning. "What is this?" Vash asked, looking at the tables covered with strange objects. "This is your future, if you want it." Kalen picked up a simple mechanical device. "This is a scanner. It detects heat signatures, tracks movement, maps terrain. A hunter uses their senses. But you know what's better than senses? Technology that never gets tired, never loses focus, never misses a detail." He set it down and picked up something else. "This is a medical analyzer. Your people have amazing reflexes and physical resilience, even without the hunting drive. You know who needs those traits? Rescue workers, disaster response teams, emergency medical technicians." Vash stared at the equipment, something flickering in his eyes. "But we're not hunters." "No," Kalen agreed. "You're not. You're something your species has never had before. You're Thresic who can think about something other than the next kill. You're Thresic who can focus on building instead of taking. You're Thresic who can feel empathy for prey species, who can work alongside them instead of seeing them as food." He knelt down to the cub's level. "The galaxy has millions of hunters, Vash. It has millions of warriors and predators. You know what it doesn't have enough of? Builders, teachers, healers, engineers, scientists, diplomats, people who create instead of destroy." "My parents are ashamed of me," Vash whispered. "The elders won't even look at me. Then they're fools." Kalen's voice was hard. "They're stuck in the past, mourning what was lost. But you're the future. You and every other kid in this camp who the old generation gave up on." He stood and gestured to the equipment. "I've been authorized by the Galactic Council to start a program. It's called the New Path Initiative. We're going to train young Thresic in skills the galaxy actually needs. Technical skills, medical skills, engineering, research, whatever interests you. Vash touched the scanner with one careful claw. Will it work? Can we really be useful? Useful? Kalen laughed. Kid, within 5 years, I predict Thresic from this program will be in demand across every sector of civilized space. You have the physical capabilities of apex predators combined with the temperament of social builders. You're going to be amazing. The cub's tail started to rise, just a little. What if I fail? What if I'm worthless at this too? Kalen put a hand on the young Thresic's shoulder. Then you try something else. That's what humans do. We fail constantly. We're actually terrible at most things when we first try them. But we keep trying until we find what works. He activated the scanner and showed Vash how to read the display. Here's the truth they're not telling you. Your generation isn't broken. You're evolved. The virus didn't take something away. It freed you from a limitation. Every Thresic before you had to be a hunter or be nothing. But you can be anything. Vash manipulated the scanner controls, his claws moving with surprising precision. The device beeped and displayed a thermal map of the camp. I can see everything, he whispered. The heat from the shelters, the people moving, even the small creatures underground. Now imagine using that to find people trapped in a collapsed building, Kalen said. Or to locate survivors in a disaster zone. Or to map dangerous terrain for a science expedition. You don't need hunting instincts for that. You need patience, attention to detail, and the desire to help others. The cub looked up at him. You really think we can do this? Be something other than failures. Kalen smiled, and this time it was gentle. Vash, I don't think you can do this. I know you can. I've seen humans go from prey to spacefarers. I've seen species adapt to things that should have destroyed them. I've seen the galaxy prove over and over that who you are matters less than what you choose to do. He gestured to the camp around them. Right now, your people are trapped by their own expectations. They think strength means hunting. But real strength is choosing to grow, to change, to become something new when the old way doesn't work anymore. Vash set down the scanner carefully and looked at all the equipment on the tables. Then he looked at Kalen. When do we start? Right now, the human said. If you're ready. The cub straightened his spine, raised his tail, and for the first time in his life, felt pride that had nothing to do with hunting. I'm ready. As the sun set over the refugee camp, Kalen began teaching Vash the basics of the technical scanner. Around them, other young Thresic began to gather, drawn by curiosity. Within an hour, a dozen cubs sat in a circle, listening to the human explain how they could use their natural abilities in ways their ancestors never imagined. The elders watched from a distance, some with skepticism, others with desperate hope. But Kalen didn't care about them. He cared about the young ones whose eyes were lighting up with possibility, who were discovering that being worthless at one thing didn't make you worthless at everything to eye in the fading light. Vash operated the scanner like he'd been born to it, his careful claws and patient focus perfect for the delicate work. He wasn't a hunter. He never would be. But as he helped map the camp's infrastructure for the engineering team, he realized something important. He didn't need to be a hunter. He just needed to be himself, and for the first time in his young life, that felt like enough.